It transcends race, religion, or income. It can happen to anyone, and it is everywhere.
It is real, it happens, it has no colour, no ethnicity, and no religion.
Around the globe, every hour, 6 women are killed by a man, the vast majority being their partner or ex-partner. A psychological trap disguised as love that women and even a few men fall into every year. So what is domestic violence? According to the UN, it is defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. The abuse is not always physical. It can be sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological actions or threats of actions that influence another person. So how does domestic violence unfold? Anyone who has worked with survivors will tell you the same thing. Domestic violence almost always follows the same script. The first stage of domestic violence is to seduce and charm the victim with love bombing. Then it proceeds to bullying and coercive control.
I was basically at times a human ashtray. Used to turn out the cigarette as in punishment.
This is then followed by violent explosions.
Basically anything triggered him off. Anything.
And concluding with extreme guilt and remorse.
Remorse would probably come in when his daughter would come up to me and start crying and say, Mummy, don't leave me. Mummy, don't cry.
And the cycle starts all over again. Early in the relationship, this cycle works very slowly, but begins to increase in rate and intensity. Abuse that would occur monthly is now a daily encounter. So why does domestic violence happen? There is no typical abuser. A combination of overblown entitlement, shame, paranoia, and insecurity can lead to feelings of overinflated ego and fury. Distorted cultural beliefs can lead some to look for a servant rather than a companion, forcing their partner to love them unconditionally when they want, however they want. So what does domestic violence look like, and how do we identify it?
When we talk about domestic violence, not all violence against women has bruises. Not all women come out having bruises. And not all women come out, understand what violence against women is.
As mentioned, one of the first stages of domestic violence starts here: coercive control. In this case, violence is not even necessary. Just the imminent threat of violence that places victims into complete fear and submission. It comes in the form of isolation, degradation, threats, gaslighting, and empty acts of kindness, luring the victim into compliance. I mean, it's not necessarily violent to isolate and demand she not see her parents again, deny her freedom of movement with hundreds of phone calls a day, place tracking devices on her phone and vehicle, control her health by calorie counting every morsel of food she's allowed to eat, or convince her she is worthless. And yet these are the controlling behaviours that show up as red flags for domestic homicide.
Women are being murdered, all right, as a result of not identifying that this is an issue of violence against women that is very dangerous.
Coercive control is not a one-off incident, but a repetitive pattern of trauma that can be difficult to report to the police. It's a form of abuse that is alien to the proper functioning of a healthy Islamic marriage. While yes, as Muslims, we understand that the husband may exercise a degree of authority over his wife, it is in no way to be confused with coercive control.
So coercive control is not a way that is within Islam. Yeah, it does happen. Of course it does happen. Yeah. But it's not being, and I would never ever blame it on anyone practicing our Islamic principles. Yeah. Because I sincerely believe that if we are practicing Islamic traditions, we will have the safest of homes.
Conservative homes are not homes of violence. In fact, homes with faith are homes that are safe.
So therefore, our Islamic principles is very clear. Yeah. But I think what is not clear is a human interpretation, and where we allow our whims and desires to create that sort of a ego-driven relationships. And that's where I think the fallout comes in.
It is not righteous to keep on suffering. Yet we continue to witness religious or community authorities repeating the same response: sister, have patience. The concept of sabr, patience, specifically within the context of domestic violence, is deeply misunderstood. Sabr is encouraged where there is room for negotiations or differences of opinion within the marriage. Yet it is not required to continue to endure violence and to simply have patience.
And this is also a call if you as an imam that's maybe watching sees or hears from a woman that is in a situation where she's undergoing family and domestic violence, that you refer her on to those who are able to make those assessments, not just to tell her you need to put up with this and Allah has decreed and destined that this is your trial and your test. Who are you to determine that this is her test? Allah is her creator.
And of course, one of the biggest victims of domestic violence are the children. Research shows that children that stay in abusive homes undergo far more damage than children from a divorced family in which the mother decided to leave. Many of these children grow up with severe mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and a high level of suicide. Studies reveal that survivors of child abuse predicted an increased likelihood of experiencing domestic violence as an adult. They may grow up to experience or emulate and repeat the abuse within their own families. So why do women stay? Unlike popular belief that claims women stay because she blindly loves him, the two main issues for battered women are the imminent danger after she leaves and financial dependency on him.
She may think, well, if I seek other means to remedy this vicious, violent situation, then I fear that I'm going to lose the children, I'm going to lose the one that is supporting me. Maybe it's better that I, at least that which I know, but it's not the ideal situation, I just stick with it.
And while by no means do we encourage divorce or urge women to rush to leave the relationship at the smallest hint of trouble, there are times where we need to seek outside support to amend unhealthy relationships.
99.9% of the times, women do not want to break their home. They do not want to leave the family. They want to keep the family together. But it has to work with both men and women doing what is important to keep the family together.
Human services encourage early intervention when there are signs of abuse and rehabilitation without shaming or labeling the perpetrator.
We do not have shortages of professional social workers, professional organisations that can help and that can see this from a holistic approach. But the first and foremost is the safety of you and your children.
We want to make sure that the victim is safe, is secure, in the case of a woman, in the case of her children. But what we do with the perpetrator now, we need to work with the perpetrator as well. We can't just throw him out, because if we do that, then we're not improving our society.
However, when the victim feels unsafe and in danger, it is important that the mother and her children leave that environment.
If it's dire and it is a matter of life or death, then you call the emergency number straight away. And you never sit in a situation where you feel that your life is at threat.
But any time that a woman finds her life or the life of her children is in danger, then immediately there is no time to waste, but seek protection for your physical safety, because that home is no longer a home for you to be able to stay safely in.
Domestic violence continues to be a pressing issue affecting our communities across the globe. This issue will not be resolved overnight. It is a long-term, generational pursuit. Violent homes create violent societies, and the cycle needs to end. As a community, we must send out the message that violence against women will not be tolerated and perpetrators will be held accountable. May Allah increase our homes in peace, safety, and comfort. And may our homes be a place of tranquility and not those of violence.